Alright team, so let's get started. So in today's class we will cover one of the very important and basic thing, which is called as a loop control structure. Okay, and we will cover from about saying why we use loop control structure. Okay, and what are the different methods we have to use these loops. Okay, and how to use. After that, we will cover our different methods of loop. Like for example, we will see the while loops, some tips, and related with and we will see some operators also. Okay, and after that we will see the for loop. Apart from this, we will also cover nesting of loop and multiple initialization in for loops. Right. And we will also see the odd loops, the break statement, the continue statements. Team is a very important thing to know when to use the break statement and when do we want to continue it. And finally we will see the do while loop. Okay, and in the end we will cover, or I can explain you the complete summary of the loop. Right, so let's get started. So the program that we have developed or we have covered so far is either a sequential one or a decision control one. Like for example, we have learned so far, like uh, let's say we have a, let's say we have variable a, we have variable called as b, we have variable called as c, and if the value of a is 2, b is let's say 5, so we are just adding a and b. Okay, and then we are printing c. Right, this is one of the simplest program, which is a sequential program. Right, we are just going line by line. Right, another one what we have gone through so far is like in decision control structures, in which let's say the same thing. If the, let's say, variable a, b and c we have, and the value of a is 3, b is 4, and we have here we have a condition. For example, if a is equal to 3, then perform c is equal to a into b. Okay, else c is equal to let's say a plus b. Okay, so here we have a condition, right? So these type of things we have learned so far. Now why we are using loop? Team, let's say for example, we have a scenario where I want to perform some task repeatedly or up to some time, or up to on the basis of some condition, but that I can't achieve using this sequential programming or using this programming, because this program will execute once only. This program execute once just only for on the basis of the condition. Right, if this condition satisfy, if a is equal to 3, then it will execute like this, otherwise this. Right, now if I want to perform some particular task repeatedly, then we need loops, and this involve repeating of some portion of program either a specified number of times, okay, or until satisfaction of particular condition. Okay, and these repetitive operation is done by some loop control structures. Okay, so now our loop control structure comes into the picture. Okay, so it's like loop control structure. Right. Now, how many types of loop control structure we have, or how many methods we are using? Right. We have basically three methods which we are using. Number one is called as a for loop, means using a for loop. Okay, and we can use with while statement also, that is using a while statement. And third one is using a do while statement. Team, I will cover all these three things in our uh, current chapter, that is loop control structure. Right. So do while. Let's start with our while loop first. Okay, so while loop. Team, it's often the case that in our program that we actually want to execute is having some fixed number of times we want to execute that program. Okay, for example, if you want to calculate the gross salary of a 10 different persons, or you want to convert, let's say, a temperature from centigrade to Fahrenheit, etc., for different cities, let's say 15 cities, then in that case we need a while loop condition. So the while loop is ideally suited for such type of cases. Let's take an example. Let me take an example with the help of a flow chart. Okay, so yeah, here we have a flow chart which demonstrate how actually while loops work. Okay, so here we have a start of a flow chart, and then we have initialize a variable named as a count. Okay, with 1. That means here the value of count is 1. Alright, and after that I am checking the condition which says is count is smaller than 3. If it's yes, then we will perform some task, and if it's no, then we will stop. Okay, so let's see the same flowchart in a form of a program, and then I will explain you this flowchart as well as that program. Okay, so let me draw, or let me write a program for this flowchart first. Okay, and then we will see how actually while loops get integrated using this flowchart. Okay, so let me open MS Paint, and here I am going to write a very simple program which actually calculates the simple interest. Okay, so program is for to calculate simple interest for 3 uh, sets of input. Let's say in our case it is P and R, for example. Okay, now let me initialize void main, and then in this case I am having 3 variable. One is P, and then I also need a count variable, okay, which is of integer type, and I also need a float type of variable, let's say R comma si for simple interest, which is actually storing the float value. Okay, and here I am initializing our count variable as 1. Now here comes our while loop. We are checking, let's see our PPT of flowchart side by side while trying this program. Okay, so here we are done with initializing of all the variable. We are done with the assigning of value to our count variable, and here comes the while loop, which is checking the value of count here, and it's saying if the value of count is smaller than 3, then do certain tasks, that is calculate the simple interest, and finally print the value what is coming in SI, which is multiplication of P into N into R divided by 100, right? And after that we have initialized the value of count by 1. That means initially the value of count is 1. After execution of these statement, the value of count would be 2, and it will again check if the value of count is smaller than 3. It says yes. So again we will take an input, calculate the simple interest and print it. Again it will increment the value of count by 1, and now the value of count is 3, and it will again check if the value of count is smaller than or equal to 3. So again it qualifies since the value of count is equal to 3, and again it will take an input, calculate and print it. After that, once the value of count is 3 plus 1, which is 4, these conditions get failed. That is, if it's again going to check if the count value is smaller than 3, but this time no, because here the value of count is 4. So this condition is not going to be executed, right? And after that this condition will move towards no, and finally it is stop the flow. So in this way we have seen that how actually while loops works. We checks or it take a certain task and do repeatedly until a certain condition satisfied, right? So let me write it like while condition and count is smaller than or equal to 3 right? And in this while loop uh, what I did, I have taken input which is P and R. Okay, so let me take an input. So for that I need to print some statement saying int values of P comma N comma R. Okay, after that I will say I need to store these values. So I have two integer type of variables, hence I am storing in percentage %d, right? And I have one value which is of float type, which is R. Okay, see here. So for that I need to write percentage %f. Okay, and we need to store this value using ampersand p, ampersand n, ampersand r. Okay, so here we are asking a input from user saying enter the value of p and r and storing these values respectively. After that what I did, I am calculating these values and put it into our SI variable. So after that I will write p into n into r divided by 100. Okay, whatever comes in our SI which is of float type, because the calculation may comes in and float value also, so that's why I have taken this value as a float, right? So what's my next step? Next step is I am printing the value of SI here. Okay, so printf simple interest is equal to dollar percentage f. Okay, so whatever the value comes in simple interest will be displayed here. Okay, so here I am printing percentage f, dollar percentage f, and uh, what will be get printed here? Whatever we have in here in SI, right? And after that, what I did, I have incremented the value of count here. Okay, so count is equal to count plus 1. All right, so here we are seeing that, just let me just align it. Team alignment is very important because it may possible that you may understand this program if alignment is not there, but anyone who is not familiar with your code got confused very easily and is not look good also, and it's very easy if, and very easy to understand also if code is aligned well, right? Okay, so here uh, we have set of instructions that is being executed for under certain conditions. Alright, so the program executes all statements after the while 3 times. Okay, everything whatever here we have, it been executed 3 times. The logic for calculating the simple interest is written within a pair of braces. Team, I am explaining how actually we write the while loop, right? So whatever we have written between these two curly braces after while loop is been executed on the basis of the condition which is been written here, right? And these conditions or these statement form a body of for a loop, for a while loop. Okay, and the parenthesis after the while condition uh, will check the value of a particular condition, I would say. Like for example, here in our case, the value is being checked as a count is smaller than or equal to 3, right? And as soon as this condition gets satisfied, this body whatever we have written in the body will get executed, right? And it will continue until this condition get satisfied, right? Now let's see some tips and traps of while loop control. Okay, okay, so let me show you the general format of a while loop. Okay, so the general format of a while loop would be like this. uh, we have initial a loop counter, or let's say initialize loop counter. Okay, and after that we will start our while loop, while, and then we need to check some condition. Okay, so we need to check, we need to test loop counter using a condition. Let me expand this. Oops. Okay, let me do this. Okay, using a condition. Okay, so we will first of all check the while loop condition. Okay, and under that we will initialize the while, or I would say we will create a body of the while loop, and we will write like do this and this for example, and after that we will increment the loop, the same example what I have explained you, and then finally we will increment the counter. Okay, increment loop counter. So this is the basic general format of while loop. Okay, now let's see some few important points about how actually we work, how actually we need to work while writing a while loop. Okay, so the statement within a while loop would keep on getting executed till the condition being test remains true. That means whatever be this condition, let me change the color, whatever the condition is being satisfied here, the loop will continuously executed unless the condition is true, right? And also there must be some place or some situation where this condition turns to false. Else what happen? If this condition gets satisfied every time, then this while loop goes in indefinite loop. Okay, this while will never get ended. It continuously executed, right? So just to avoid this, or as a standard, we need to make sure that there must be some situation when this while condition get false. So let's see the example of how this happen. If in case uh, let me change the color, let's say blue. Okay, so let me see how it's happen if my condition is not satisfied. Let's say if I have declared a variable I and have assigned the value as a 1, and here I am putting a condition saying if I is smaller than 10, right? And after that I am printing the value as percentage d and I, for example. Okay, now here I am not closing the or I would say I am not decrementing or incrementing the counter, which is our requirement, right? In this particular case I need to increment it, right? Increment the counter so that my this condition get fails. But if I try to execute this simple program, this program will never get terminated because this condition will never get false. Initially the value of I is 1, and we're saying the 1 is smaller than 10. Yes, it will print the value of 1 here, value of I here, which is 1. Again it will check the value of I, which is smaller than 10. Yes, again it will print as in I, which is 1. So in this way, every time when it's going to check, or every time a condition gets satisfied, and it will print the value of I, and this loop will go in an infinite loop. So to avoid this type of situation, what I need to do? I need to write like I is equal to I plus 1, so that the value get incremented by 1 every time, and as soon as it will get 9 smaller than 10, it will get executed. But as soon as is get 10, this condition get fails at I is equal to 10, right? Now this is first thing. Now another also important thing is, in place of condition there can be any valid expression. What it means? It means here at this place we can put any valid condition, like as uh, as we saw, while I is smaller than 10, this is one condition. We can also write like while I is smaller than 10 and j is also smaller than, let's say, 15. Okay, so here we are giving two conditions, Once these two conditions satisfied, only then condition will be marked as a true, else fails. We can also use and or operation also. Okay, like I is smaller than 10, and in this another condition we have, which is I is smaller than 15 or C is smaller than 25. So here we have multiple conditions. Once all these conditions get satisfied, only then our while loop condition, means complete this condition, will be marked as a true. Alright. So in this way we can use different ways to execute our while condition. Another thing, the statement within a loop may be a single line or a block of a statement. In first case, parentheses are optional. For example, if I write like while I is smaller than 10, then I is equal to I plus 1, right? This statement is same as if I write like while I is smaller than 10 and within curly braces if I write like I is equal to I plus 1, means if there is only one line of a statement, then we can use this curly braces, or we can or it's not mandatory to use curly braces. Okay, now let's see some other thing also, like instead of incrementing a loop counter, we can even decrement it to satisfy the our while condition, and still we manage to get loop get executed, right? Like for example, we have a main, and inside this main, let's say I have initialized a variable I as in 5 for example, and while loop I will say I is smaller than equal to 1, and after that I will print some statement like printf and slash n, this is test while. Okay, and in this I am going to decrement the value. Okay, like this. So here we can see initially the value of I is 5, and I have initialized the value of or I can say I have given the condition here in while loop as in I is greater than or equal to 1. Yes, here the value of I is 5, which is greater than or equal to 1. That means my these conditions get true and it will execute this statement. Alright, after that I have decremented the value of I. So now the value of I will be 4. Okay, so it will check 4 is greater than or equal to 1. Yes, again it will get executed. In the same way, once the value get equal to 0, the condition will fails, and I am safely get an exit from this while loop, right? So team, these are some very important things which we need to consider. We have some more other things which I can discuss in my next class, right? So just do have a practice of the while loop. Try to execute the condition using while loop, and try to make different conditions, and uh, let me know if you find any issues in this, right? Okay, thanks for watching my video. Bye bye.